But then you're supposed to do causes. Oh, we already got causes. Okay, so then you should put, so is
Hey everyone, welcome back to Activate Your Classroom. I'm your host, Glenn Wagner. What you just saw there is several groups of my students creating concept maps. Now, I've been doing concept mapping in my classroom now for probably the better part of 10 years. And in this video, I want to share two things with you. First of all, why concept mapping is an important and powerful teaching and learning tool, and also how to create effective concept maps. Now, concept map making has a very rich history in educational research. It's been around for quite some time. And it does show that students who do concept mapping actually improve their learning compared to those that don't. Now, why is that? Well, concept mapping actually takes us not only from the foundational understanding and recalling of concepts, but it also brings up the level of thinking to analysis and creativity as students work together in order to bridge concepts together or link them together to make meaningful relationships. And that is where the thinking happens, and that is where the remembering happens as well. Now first, what do we mean by a concept? Well, simply put, a concept is just anything that you have experienced, whether it's this pen, whether it's these glasses, whether it's a person, whether it's a feeling. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you've experienced it. But human beings are concept map making machines. In other words, we are always trying to make relationships between concepts in such a way that we are trying to make sense of the world. And that is the foundational idea behind concept map making. Now, I'm going to take you through a series of examples of how to go about creating concept maps in education. In other words, taking what goes on in our head and putting it down on paper in such a way that we build relationships between concepts in such a way that we make them meaningful. So grab a piece of paper and a pencil or a marker and a whiteboard and play along with me as we go through a series of examples in creating concept maps at that foundational level in such a way that afterwards, if you want, you can then take the ideas and expand on them and create much richer, more complex concept maps. So let's get started and let's have some fun with concept map making. Okay, let's start with our first concept map. And we're going to use a concept that we know a lot about, and that is the weather. And here are two concepts about the weather that we have experienced: dark clouds and rain. Now, the key to making our beginning concept maps here is to figure out what is the relationship between dark clouds and rain. What could be a relationship? In other words, what link word could we use here that relates dark clouds and rain? Well, if we start off with a very simple one, the word and, well, we can right away see that there's not much of a relationship being made with the word and. So dark clouds and rain, it doesn't propose anything between the two concepts. And there really isn't any relationship that's being produced. So chances are that and for this case here is not a very good word to pick. So we're going to have to think about a word that's more purposeful, more expressive. And that's when I came up with this word. So dark clouds produce rain. So right away, a relationship has now been made. And we propose that dark clouds produce rain, and that makes perfectly logical sense. Now, if I bring in another concept of puddles, we now might say, okay, well, what is the link word that goes between rain and puddles to make it a relationship between these two concepts? Well, I thought of this one, and resulting in puddles. So dark clouds produce rain, resulting in puddles. And that makes perfectly logical sense. It relates all three concepts together through these two linking words here that are rather expressive and they're purposeful in what they're trying to do here between these three concepts. So I'm going to slide these out for right now because sometimes people may disagree on how these concepts go together. So if I put puddles up at the top instead and dark clouds at the bottom, that's fine. But the game we need to play here is what is going to be the link words that relates puddles, rain, and dark clouds. And with a little bit of thinking, I came up with this. I thought created from, so puddles are created from rain. Okay. And then how does rain and dark clouds go together? Well, I thought that rain is produced by dark clouds. Now, look at the logical consistency. Puddles created from rain, produced by dark clouds. And that makes perfectly good sense. This concept map is just as good as the previous one that we've just done. So there's nothing wrong with this one whatsoever. So I'm going to slide this over to the side. Now that we've got the high level thinking over with, we can now write out how to draw the concept map. And we're going to do this in a very simple way here. We're going to simply use a couple of markers here. And because it's a small one, we can just simply write it by hand here. So we have puddles, and I'm going to put a circle around it. And down below here, I'm going to write down rain and put a circle around it. Now, what we do often is we put either circles or squares around concepts, so they are quite clear on our map. And then what we do is we take a line, start it at the top, and then we write down in between the link word. And then we finish it with an arrow pointing down. So puddles created from rain. And then we write down below here, dark clouds, like this. And again, we'll put a circle around it because it's a concept. And then we write in here the linking word. In this case here, it is produced by dark clouds. And notice the arrow. The arrow shows the logical flow in which these concepts are going to flow together. All right, so that's how we create the concept map on paper. This is the easy part. The thinking part is figuring out how the concepts go together and the linking words that we need to put there in order to make it work. Well, I'm going to put this off to the side, and I'm going to give you a chance now to play. And I'm going to come up here with a concept that we know a little bit about, and that is germs. And here's some concepts about germs: viruses, sickness, death rates, hand washing. Okay, and what I'd like you to do is to pause the video, and I want you to take a few minutes and think about what effective link words could you put between these four concepts that allow a relationship to be made among all four of these concepts. Afterwards, I'll come in and I'll show you what I think, but right now I want you to chance to test yourself and see what you think of how these four concepts go together. Okay, so here's how I thought it went together. I thought that viruses cause sickness, and sickness is responsible for increasing death rates, and it can be reduced by hand washing. So viruses cause sickness, increasing death rates, reduced by hand washing. What were your link words like? Were they purposeful and expressive? Okay, let's do our next concept map around something that we all know something about, and that is the food chain. Now, what I want to introduce to you is something that I think is really useful for students and teachers, and that is to create for yourself a parking lot of concepts. Now, I present here a parking lot here that may come from, say, a reading or perhaps a video or perhaps a brainstorming session between teachers and students. But the bottom line is that you create a list of concepts so that you know what it is that you want to link together. And this is especially useful if the readings or the videos start becoming very large and there's lots of concepts. So creating one of these things is really helpful in organizing one's thoughts around what it is you want to make a concept map around. Not only that, I also want to introduce to you the idea of giving yourself and your students a possible set of link words. All right, so if you take a look at the list here, I've created some possible linking words here. You'll notice that most of them are purposeful and expressive, such as produces, causes, absorbed, or detected. And then there are some that are a little more descriptive in nature, such as is, or part of, or can be, or have. Now, this is just a small list. The students can create their own as they wish, but it's important that I think you give them a list of words in order to be able to look at as they're trying to build their concept map through their parking lot of concepts. So I'm going to put this off to the side. I'm going to put the parking lot off to the side. And I'm going to start with the analysis here that I think makes sense to me. And that is I'm going to start my food chain with sunshine. And I think after that, the grass becomes important here. So I know something about a relationship between sunshine and grass. And with a little bit of thinking, I chose the word grows. All right, so sunshine grows grass. And I also, with a little bit of thinking based on my experience, that cows like grass. So what might be a good link word here? Well, I thought eaten by cows. So sunshine grows grass eaten by cows as a nice logical consistency so far. And then I pull another word from my parking lot, and I'm going to put food down below here because I know that cows produce food. So
Sunshine grows grass eaten by cows producing food. And two examples of that food for humans anyway is meat and milk. So I'll put a link word here of such as and such as, or for example. And notice how the map kind of branches off now when we bring in examples for this particular situation. So sunshine grows grass eaten by cows producing foods such as milk, such as meat. All right. Now, once all of this is done and we put the thinking in and we're happy with it, we then can do the mechanics of the concept map. And that's what we have right here. Okay. So this is what we might write out. So we put, again, the concepts in circles or boxes followed by the link words. So this is the easy part. We've already done the high-level thinking, and now it's just a matter of writing out what that concept map might look like. Now, this might not be the only one. There may be other ways in which to organize the concepts, but this is the way I saw it, and it seems to make logical sense. Let me share a quick example of how I've used concept maps in helping my students understand the concept of cancer. I gave my students a parking lot of concepts. Now, I got these concepts from a reading that the students did along with watching several videos. So they're kind of familiar with these terms right here. And so I had them work in groups of 2, and working on large whiteboards, I had them map out their concept map with these terms and with hopefully appropriate link words. They managed to revise the map over and over again, getting feedback until they created their final product. And here is an example of what that product looks like. Now, as you can see here, and I'll let you read this on your own here, but you'll notice that for the most part, the link words are expressive and purposeful. And notice how they naturally branched off the concept map here and here that made logical sense. Now, this is just one of several really good ones. They don't look exactly like this, but as long as it's logically consistent, then it's okay in my books. Okay, let's get you to try one now on understanding the concept of love. Now, I'm going to provide for you a parking lot of concepts here, surrounding love. And as you read through these, you'll notice that it is not necessarily things. Concepts can be emotions or feelings, as you can see here. I'm going to provide you also with a small set of possible linking words. And then from there, I'd like you to see if you can create your own concept map surrounding some or all of these concepts. Now, remember, there's no one right way of creating a concept map, just as provided that you have a logical consistency surrounding these ideas here. Now, once you have tried this, then I'll show you a couple of videos from 2 groups of people who actually worked with these concepts to create their own concept maps. So pause the video and give it a try, and then check your work with what we have coming up next.
Love produces happiness, which leads to friendship, which produces emotions, and that's part of being intimate. We broke it off into 2. One way is it leads to sex, produces babies, can lead to marriage, and the other way is intimacy can be destroyed by jealousy, which causes sadness, which produces divorce and splits families.
Thank you.
So we did love creates friendship or includes friendship in it, and then from there there's emotions that go into the friendships we create, and then from there we had like the negative path or the positive path. So emotions can create jealousy, which then leads to impacting marriage, which can create sadness and lead to divorce on the negative side of things. Or on the positive side of things, emotions can go into intimacy or marriage, and then goes to sex and have beautiful babies, and then that leads to having a family, which also has happiness, and then it always ends in love. So love's love.
Very good. Okay, let's sum up. The key to making good concept maps are going to be those link words. So make sure that you choose link words that are going to be expressive and purposeful in such a way that you're going to build good, strong relationships between those concepts that you're playing with. Next, I would suggest starting small with your concept maps. Nothing big to begin with. Get used to making little ones, because once you get comfortable with that, then you can then expand out and create much richer, more complex maps. And finally, consider a parking lot of terms for your students, or if you're a student, create your own parking lot of terms. In this way, it forces you to go through and find out what concepts are important to link together and perhaps ones that can be ignored at this time. Now click the link below to knowledgebuilders.net and go to the resource menu where you will find a manual that you can download to help students and teachers create effective concept maps. It goes into a little more detail than what we did here. Finally, feel free to hit subscribe, provide me just with a little bit more encouragement to create more of these types of videos in the future, which I really enjoy doing. Thank you, everyone. My name is Glenn Wagner for Activate Your Classroom, and just trying to do my part to make teachers better teachers and students better learners. See you soon, folks.